How you doing? Dan McDonald here with the Life Regenerator Show, and I've got Lou Corona here. Hopefully you saw the last video that we did. It was amazing, touching on some of the more deeper subjects. But now, what I love to talk about, what I like to see for this world, is people getting healthy and learning about the power of raw living foods. And you've really mastered that. And it's not... it's a very important area of your life, and I know a lot of people see us as they just do food, but we're doing a lot more behind the scenes. But the thing about the food is it's very practical, and 99% of the people are just eating things that aren't necessarily conducive to the highest levels of the most radiant health according to the real laws of nature. Not the laws of nature where you like to bend them around because pizza tastes good, or you like your meat or your rice, but actual laws of nature that allow you to really keep your organism in top running shape. Is that a pretty good way to put it?
That's another way of putting it.
Yeah, so obviously you and I are both known for raw foods, and you're one of the few people, as myself, that is dedicated, devoted to 100% raw, because it's like a commandment from somewhere on high, that this is the way you live to have the most successful, optimum life possible. Now, 42 years raw vegan, and I'll tell you, you haven't lost your strength or your power, and you're very healthy. You've got a lot of energy, a lot of joy. So all the myths about needing meat or cooked foods are necessary or beneficial, like you say, even we're all reasonable. 80-20 is fine. You eat 80% raw food, 20% cooked, you can have a good life. You start getting below that, and there's some, there's sluggishness and heaviness and digestive problems and bloating and gas and things like that. So the raw living foods seems like it was very instrumental in reversing and healing several chronic disorders that you were experiencing as a younger man.
Well, it's true. It was a very instrumental thing. But again, I will go back always to remember that once I got clear and complete with my past issues, and I learned how to create a declaration and how to recreate, reinvent, redirect my life, recondition, reprogram my life. See, that was like you might say, like the rudder in the boat,
So
See,
love first, then
first.
raw foods.
See, I wasn't able to go on raw foods and do fastings or colonics or, the body work and all the hot cold therapies and all these, therapies that I did to help me get well. I wasn't able to do it until I actually, took on this thing about loving my life and respecting it and honoring it and appreciating it. So when I declared to love and respect and honor my life as a blessing, as a gift, and recognize that this body really is a gift, it's a blessing. So when I took that on, and when I took on the idea that whatever I've ever attracted into my life, in past, present, and future, whatever I've attracted or continue to attract into my life, or whatever I do attract into my life, that it's all for the good. It's all for me to learn from it, to grow from it, to evolve from it, to become stronger and wiser and better because of these experiences that I've gone through.
Let me ask you something about that. And sometimes that might not be that pleasant. Like, it takes a certain level of honesty and commitment. It's so easy just to blow it off or take no responsibility or blame someone else.
That's right.
But to really take responsibility, that's the only way. And I'm coming into that zone in a strong way. I was telling you earlier, I've been 14 years raw. My mind is so clear the way that I eat, which I get teased about all the time. You don't eat enough. I'm like, I am laser sharp. And there's this clarity there that does not allow me to... There's a clarity and wisdom that doesn't allow me to run anymore. As a lot of us run with drugs or food or sex or all the things we can do. The gambling, the list goes on and on. But when you get that laser sharp and you get that commitment to love and truth, you run out of places to run, and then you get into the 100% responsible zone for emanation and attraction. So I think I had a question. I was going to have a question, but anyways, that 100% responsibility is what I wanted to sort of throw in there so that can be emphasized.
But that's the truth, though, because until we actually take responsibility for our thoughts and our feelings and our actions and our eating habits and, you know, whatever we do with our lives, we're responsible. No one's thinking for us. No one, you know, is you know, whether they use their techniques or influences or whatever they do, you know. But we're the ones that at the end of it all, we're the ones that need to make a decision whether we're going to buy and accept that person's ideas or beliefs or
the media even,
or the media or whatever the case may be. The point is that when you get really real and really truth about life, and you realize, wow, we're spiritual, electrical, infinite beings that can create any possibility. We have tremendous potential within us, and we're ingenious, brilliant people. We're very special beings. And so when we begin to identify that and live out of that space and realize that every single person on this planet is made that same way, you see? So when you're being and knowing and accepting and identifying and acknowledging yourself as a powerful being, a wonderful being, a special being, a creative, brilliant, ingenious being, and know that everyone else is also, this gets very exciting. This gets very exciting because now when you're speaking to people, you're speaking to their brilliancy. You're speaking to their amazing being that they are. You know, you're seeing the ingeniousness they're made out of.
You have to embrace that in yourself first before you can see it in others.
Of course, absolutely.
So you might recommend embrace that brilliance, because I think that might be a huge underlying factor.
If those who are hearing this conversation can feel and sense my love for you, our love for you, and our care for you, but more even beyond that, is to recognize this brilliant beings that we are, ingenious beings that we are, and know how special we are and how creative we are, and that we have so much potential within us. It's incredible. But we need to be open to it. You need to be receptive to it. You need to be willing to accept that and be that. And then from there you're able to evolve and just start blooming.
Yeah.
And all kinds of wonderful things begin to come through you. You begin to understand things you couldn't understand before. You begin to see things you couldn't see before. You're able to see through life in a way that's just, oh my goodness, you just wake up and you realize.
Does it seem like more of a process of letting go than it is actually of accumulating?
It's more of a trusting thing. It's accepting yourself once and for all that you are a beautiful, special, brilliant, ingenious being. And when you accept that and be that and live in that space, and also know that everyone else on the planet that's who they really are.
Even if they don't know it.
Even if they don't recognize it because maybe they forgot it or never got taught it.
Well, don't you think most people have forgotten that?
A long time ago, we have forgot, as a people, we forgot who we really are.
Yeah.
And we forgot how to live powerfully.
And love each other and love ourselves.
Like for instance, earlier we were talking about, you know, there's real food and there's unreal food.
Uh-huh.
Or there's real food that honors your body, and there's people food.
Right.
So I used to live on people food. When I say people food, I'm talking about Twinkies, pastries. I'm talking about all those candy bars and all that pasteurized, homogenized milk and all that processed, chemicalized white flour products that I used to eat from, and many other things I used to take into my body. I didn't know any better. But when I became aware and realized that how I was living was basically destroying me quicker than not. But when I surrendered and when I opened up, and see, I didn't know where else to go. I was flat on my bed. I was like ready to check out. I already asked all the doctors what was causing all my diseases, and none of them knew. They just knew I had this and this and this and this, and that they were referring me to medication and facing surgery. but they didn't really know what was causing my conditions. So when the day came and I asked and I prayed and I was shown what was causing all my conditions, I was the one who asked to die. And now that I was dying, what do I have to complain about, right? I changed my mind. Now I want to know how. What do I need to do? And so when I begin to start thinking about, okay, what do I need to do? Love, forgive, accept, and embrace all the people in my past and anoint them with love. In other words, have compassion for them, because when they did all those ugly things and all the beatings and all the verbal abuse and the physical abuse and emotional abuse and whatever, all that stuff I went through, all those people that did these ugly things to me, they didn't know any better. You know, they didn't know the beauty of life or how life works. They came from their own dysfunctional families and their own pain and their own suffering. Because, you know, hurt people hurt people. You know what I'm saying? So sometimes there's a few people that break out of that cycle. I happen to be one of those people. But I'm just saying, we don't have to be victim forever. But we need to have the ability to be able to forgive. And forgiveness, I'm not talking about condoning the act. Forgiveness is about letting go of the resentment, letting go of the anger, letting go of the condemnation towards those people that hurt you in the past. You know what I'm saying?
Is there a way to share that?
Of course, absolutely. That's why when we work one-on-one and I be able to get in sync with a person and we discover a particular scenario that they had gone through, then I work with them and I sync up with them.
You track back.
I track back.
Dig deep.
And then
Right.
we work through it and really look at it and observe it. What was it like when it was like that? You know, and then from there we're able to look at it, observe it, and then we're able to work through it, and get to the point where we realize, wow.
Can my friend here on the video take those steps now to begin to track back within themselves? How can an individual view this video and then pick up this principle and begin the process of forgiving and letting go of the resentments? Because there is a lot of that, bro, out there, for real.
It's very easy for me to say, yes, look at your past, see your dilemmas. Some people have covered up their pain and their suffering so much to the point where they forget the scenarios that they've been through. You know, so, I mean, some
it's
people
so painful that it's almost buried within layers of an encrusted heart.
Mm-hmm.
And
Right.
it's so deeply embedded with medications and escape strategies,
right.
that this is going to be a real process, which I can attest to as I'm in the middle of the process myself.
I mean, just recently I got to have the privilege to work with someone that that's already, you know, past 50 years of age, and we went back to an age of 3 years of age, and a family member said something, but that was a continuous thing, things that were being. So she, when she experienced the verbal abuse, the demeaning,
Yeah.
you know,
So common.
very demeaning to her,
Man.
and just verbal, physical abuse going on. It was intense. It was very intense for many years, and so, but that was covered up, overlapped, and you know. But years later go by, and all of a sudden there's something really, you know, heavy issue going on with her health, but it was linked to that experience.
Isn't it always?
Mhm.
And that's just get that seed planted in your head, because then
So,
you can say, well,
I'm gonna say-
diet and all that stuff,
Mhm.
but there's always some kind of the cancers and the different issues that are deeply embedded, something other than just you
I
ate
can-
crappy.
I,
You know?
I can obviously generalize, you know, the process, but and I've already given you some tidbits around it. But really, you know, it's such a deep issue that to be able to have a person that has the empathy and the ability and the skill and the gift to be able to go in, be able to pull that
Right.
from a person,
Like a real good counselor.
you might say.
Yeah.
But in a sense, and I became powerful at it because I myself was, you know, I went through my own abuses, and I went through. So for me to overcome all that, and to come out on the other end of the stick, and now loving life and appreciating it, and sound and stable and powerful in my way of being and all, that meant that I really did transform. I healed from it. Now I can look back and go, thank you so much. Now I can look back and go, how grateful I am that I did get beaten by all those guys at school, and I had all the verbal abuse, all the physical abuse. I had no self-worth, no confidence at all. In fact, when I went in the Air Force, I actually thought I was a stupid person. That's a mindset that I had.
Yeah.
I had that limiting belief system going on inside my head that I was a stupid person. And when I looked in the mirror one day and I saw all the acne on my face, like severe acne, I looked in the mirror and I go, oh my God, those guys were right. I am ugly. I'm uglier than sin. And then when you're first in the Air Force and you go to pocket, there's no money in your pocket, because when they first start you out in the service, they don't pay you much, hardly anything. So I was actually broke financially. So I was stupid, ugly, and broke. You see? So I had nowhere to go. My life was miserable.
Yeah.
When you're walking around through life with a mentality, thinking and believing that you're stupid and then ugly and broke, I mean, come on, man, life is not even worth living at that point. You know what I mean?
Right.
Mm-hmm. And so at the same time, I had no self-worth, no confidence, and I had no true identity of who I really was. And at that point, who cares if you live another day or not? You know what I mean?
Yeah, so that might be why so many people are just eking it out, waiting for the weekend so they can get drunk to spend their paycheck on a job that they hate. And there's a lot of mediocrity out there. And what we're championing is real vitality and
That's
joy
right.
and bliss, and actively doing something that you love.
How can you possibly transform living on living foods and omitting or letting go of eating animals in your life, or dairy products and pastries and all these different things? How can you do any of that unless you get your head straight and figure out, so we're genius people? We're brilliant people? We're amazing people? That's who
Yeah.
we really are? See, how do you acquire that? You know what I mean?
Well, I will point out to the viewer here now so that they can realize, hopefully, that what I've learned, because I was going with the food, so much food, I've learned so much, but you thinking that the food was going to do something without. So I went from the bottom up. What I'm suggesting is save yourself a lot of time and go from the top down. But I had to work so hard on juicing and fasting and all this stuff, and then I realized very recently that time to get a tune-up up here, and I've been working on my attitude ever since, getting rid of the stinking thinking, focusing on principles and virtues and sticking to those and allowing those principles and virtues to purify me. And now the body has more energy, it's more flexible, it doesn't get as tired as easily,
Right.
it regenerates a lot faster. So on this accelerated path, it's
I've seen a
beautiful
lot of
thing.
people get into a vegetarian lifestyle or raw food lifestyle, or even raw living foods, even occasional fasting, cleansing their bodies and so on. But if they don't get this straightened out and getting clear with past issues and get their heart in the right place and all that, they still have sickness, they still get infections, they still have diseases. I mean, it still happens, even with a really clean diet that I've seen.
Yep.
So that's what I'm saying. The 4 principles are very important. It's just like a car. It's got 4 tires on it. Those 4 tires, they all need to be inflated, they all need to be balanced, and they all need to be in sync. But one of them's bald. If one of them's bald and out of balance, you're going to have a blowout eventually. You're going to have a blowout. You're going to hit something and then crash.
So shore up all the areas of your life. It's a constant process.
So raw living foods, cultured foods, eating, feeding your body from a cellular perspective and learning how to do that in a powerful way. Obviously, it's a superior lifestyle. I mean, as far as eating habits, as far as that particular principle, but we still need to learn how to communicate powerfully within our internal selves. That's why when you communicate powerfully from a spiritual, mental, emotional, physical level, learning how to listen to the body, how to communicate to the body and listen to it. The body is telling you all the time what it needs, what it wants, and most of us don't listen. And our brain, the way we think, we have some people have real powerful way of thinking, and some people have stinking thinking going on. Well, I was definitely a stinking thinker back in the day, for sure. But I learned how to think powerfully, and you can too. We all can. Remember, it's a choice. We all have a choice. How we think, how we feel, how we eat, drink, whatever we do in this life. And we're responsible for that. No one else is. So if you want to recreate, reinvent, redirect your life and become more powerful than you've ever been, then get clear about what you want in this life and how you want to be, how you want to live. Create a declaration and read that thing 3 times a day until you become it, until you
Is
manifest
there an
it.
example of the declaration
Of
on the
course.
Paradigm website?
You can go to puredime.com or loucorona.com. It goes right to the same website. Go to the first principle, click under the cellular communication, and there's a little place where you can click, and it says how to create a declaration.
I'll put a link down below this video so
That'll
you can
help
go
you.
there. And I also recommend, which I forgot in the last video, to sign up for the newsletter so that you know when Lou Corona is in your town, because we're thinking about doing a world tour, and you don't want to miss that just because you're not on the list. So that would be a good idea so that you can, 'cause if you get a chance to see Lou live, he really gets into the audience, and this weekend was just amazing stuff. I was like, wow, blown away at the clarity and the sincerity and the teachings that were coming through. Even though I've seen them 100 times before, man, I still love it. I love being in your presence, and it continues to improve my life. I'm sure that everyone here, unless they weren't paying attention, has been uplifted, transformed. Recap: raw foods, forgiveness, thinking powerfully,
Don't-
transformation.
And don't forget to embrace the sun and drink some good water and ground yourself.
Yeah,
And jump up and down on a rebounder, or do hot cold showers, or take a sauna and jump in a cold plunge, or get some body work done and remove that lymph. The lymph, stimulate the lymphatic system. So that's why I like people to jump in the rebounder, maybe do some yoga, stretching and breathing, doing some breathing exercises. Do these things. Those things will move your lymph and keep you clean, keep you healthy, keep you strong, keep you flexible.
it's the era of self-care. It's time
It really
that we
is.
started loving
It's
ourselves.
really, really coming down to it. It's up to us. It's up to us to be responsible and take care of ourselves in a powerful way. And then and support each other and help each other keep growing and evolving. And what we're really doing here is we're not really teaching anything you already know. All the knowledge, all the wisdom of life is right within you already. All we're trying to do here is just remind you and just express our love and appreciation for you. But to remind you who you really are and remind you that you can break through and live a very powerful life. And we'll just give you some pointers how to make that happen. So look forward to connecting with you sometime in the
To
future.
remind you of
Love you once again.
who truly are. Yep, that's my mission. Thanks, Lou.
Excellent.
Good job, bro. Peace be with you. Thank you very much. Goodbye for now.